Okay, so let's go back to the calibrate tool. So far left on that measurement drop down, click on the calibrate button. And it's going to ask you to select 2 points on this page. So hit OK. And one of these given dimensions down here, 52. So I'm just going to try to select that as close as possible. Hold Shift. Just make sure it's a good line right at your endpoint. So that dimension is 52 feet. Hit Apply Scale. And then I just like to check it using the measurement length to make sure that's actually at 52 feet or close to 52 feet. Okay, our tool chest is created now. So with the tool chest being created, now we're going to go ahead and add some tools. So the first one we're going to do is our, so a few different ways to do this. I like just showing you where the other ones are. So yes, they're all over here as well, but they're also on the top property bar. So if we click on tools, we are going to use measure tools for really the whole class. So first up, let's just go down to area. So some people asked about shortcuts, but you can see Bluebeam's got a ton of shortcuts too that you'll kind of pick up as you go, especially in residential, how you use a bunch of different ones. So click on area, and here I just want to I'm just going to do one of these with you, but I'm going to do the area of my garage is one question. So I'm going to go from my outside face of my wall and really just click on the outline or corners of my garage. So yes, it kind of goes outside to outside, then I'm going inside here, but that's fine. Back to outside. Hit enter when you are done, or you connect the dot at the end. So with that highlighted too, again by default it just creates a red outline. It's not filled in. So once you're done with that one, go ahead and let's fill it in, color of your choice. But we're going to down the opacity. So pick a color, and then right next to it is the opacity, or how bold it is, or how filled in it is. So I'm going to down this to like 30%, just so we can see what's behind that takeoff. Yep. Yeah, I don't know if you calibrated. Did you calibrate? Okay, so go back to your measure tool first, hit escape, and you'll go back to, go to your measure tool, click on calibrate, hit OK, and then select this line down here as close as you can. 1 point, the other point, it's 52 feet, and hit apply scale after that. And then, again, if I were to do this again, I'm just going to go to Tools, Measure Area, and here I'm just going around the perimeter of my garage. Click, click. This one's a little bit sloppier, that's okay. How do you what? Yeah, and you don't really need to delete a scale. You can honestly just recalibrate it. So go ahead and go back. What review are you in? Go click up in review up top. Profiles. Review? Okay. Maybe try recalibrating. So once my square foot's done here, again, what I did is just filled it in. So select that outline, go to fill, put in a color here, and then down the opacity. I think 30% is probably good for this one. Yep. How close? You're fine. You may have gone inside the wall, but that's fine. Yep. Okay, and then one little trick. You'll see this my text right here, maybe I want to see, sometimes I don't want to see, with our lines we don't want to see, but square foot's okay. But if you select on your takeoff, kind of hover over where that text is and hold shift, and then mouse click, you can move that unit or that takeoff anywhere you want. Bless you. Okay, so now, that's great. Everybody knows how to do that. But we're going to go ahead and save this into our tool chest, just in case we want to use it later on. So I'm going to right click on what I just did. I'm going to go to Add to Tool Chest and find your QTO14. So it will load that in. And then from there, we're going to click on this little settings icon and go to Detail, just so I can see what it is. So by default, I forget the Bluebeam term for it, but you'll see it's really just a copy-paste tool. So if I were to click on that, it gives me the exact same box or area that I just did. I don't really want that. So if I double-click over here on this icon, it turns it into now a functional tool where it allows me to use as a square foot tool. And that's great too. I kind of missed one thing, but that's okay. I can adjust it now. But I want to make this, let's say, my slab on grade area takeoff, or tool name, whatever you want. Okay, so when this is selected right here too, we're just going to clean this up a little bit more. So click on your garage, and then there is kind of a hidden bar or Bluebeam. Okay, on the bottom. And we're just going to drag up so we can see the settings. So drag that up. I'm going to minimize my text box, and your markup list down here probably looks different than mine, which is fine. So it's super easy to clean up, just like you would on Excel. If you click on the drop down for your market lists, and I'm going to move this up just so back row can see it. Market lists, hover over columns, and here are really the only ones. You don't even need page label. Color's good, but really I just want to make sure you got subject turned on. So uncheck all the ones that you don't really need. But I want length, I want area, count we'll get to. You don't really even need comments. Yeah, let's uncheck comments for this one. Measurements, let's see what that does. Maybe turn on measurements for now. It'll summarize. Nah, that's kind of redundant. Uncheck measurements. Layers not on there. You can check it, but I didn't check mine. Yeah. People teach this differently. I teach this as an estimating background, but again, other teachers are really into layers. I'm not a big fan of layers, but I'll show you why. 5 what? Yeah, so go back to custom what? Yeah, yep. Okay, so with our properties now kind of cleaned up down here too, so this is okay. It is an area measurement, but maybe I just want to get a little bit more specific. So for this one down here, we can also rename. So down here, let's call this garage slab on grade. Might as well. Let's do it. Usually I don't get into layers, but we can just for fun. Okay, so one extra step is layers, just so we can turn it on and off really. So if I right click on my slab, I'm going to go to Layer, Create New Layer, and I'm just going to throw, or kind of copy the name. So I got Garage Slab on Grade. So what this allows us to do, because we'll kind of get into it next for our linear foot takeoff, is if you hover on the far left, your Layers tab or property icon, click on that, and you can go ahead and you can now hover over this little eyeball, and you can turn on and off certain layers too. So I'm just going to turn it off, just so it's there, but it's nice too. Your page will still recognize it. It's still there. Okay, so next up I'm going to go to Tools. So we're going to start figuring out really our linear foot takeoff of our walls. And again, old school, we used to have to scale this. When I started in industry, people use these fancy measurement pens, which were like $150, but pretty much you set the little calibration tool on your fancy pen and it rolls on the piece of paper and you mark it just like we are here, but now we just use Bluebeam and different software to do this for us. Okay, so I'm going to go back up to my tool button up here, go to measurement, and I personally just like the perimeter tool. Some people like this polylink. I think it gets in the way. Well, I'll kind of show you what that looks like later, but go ahead and just click on your perimeter tool. Okay, and we're just going to start on one wall together. And so really on all of our different windows and doors, you're just going to go straight through except for our garage door. So I'm going to start really on my outside corner, and it doesn't snap. So a lot of plan sets that are built in CAD and built in Revit, you'll actually see your line will snap, but ours doesn't. It's an old school plan, so that's totally fine. So just when I'm drawing my line, I'm going to hold Shift to make sure it is a straight line. And so again, I just clicked once, hold Shift, click twice, and hit Enter. And we've got 2 dimensions right there. It should be pretty dang close. But again, here you can just see I'm like a ½ inch off, but it's totally fine for a linear foot. It should both be right at 3 feet. Here you can see it's starting to tally, but now we're just going to clean this up. So first I like adjusting these properties before I save it to my tool set. So we've got perimeter measurement down here. So really I'm going to select both of these. You can just highlight both of them if you want, or down in your property box, click on one, hold Shift, click on the other one. So I just want both of them selected. Yep. Yeah, hit Enter. So one click, hit Enter to really end your line measurement. Okay, with both of these selected, now I'm just going to adjust some of the properties. So line, let's just say I want this to be a blue color. And then with my properties icon over here, I'm going to select it. And I don't want all these lines to show the caption. So with my properties selected, I'm going to zoom down or scroll down and just uncheck that show caption box. I think it's redundant. And here you can just see our lines are pretty small too. So I'm going to beef up these lines to maybe 6 point. Too big. Maybe 5 point, just so it's outlining the walls. Nope, 4 point. 4 point looks good. And then again, I want to be able to see through them. So I'm going to down the opacity to, I want to be able to see it, so maybe 50 for this example. That looks pretty good. Okay, so the properties look good. And then with my settings, still open. Now we're going to name this. I'm looking at my scale here real quick. Where's my north-south arrow? Do I have one? Do I have it? No. I don't see it. So I'm just going to name this one. So with my settings, or my property bar open, I'm going to name this NS Walls. We're just going to say that's north and south walls. Okay, hit enter or done or click off of it, and now it's going to save those properties. And now we've got a running tally so far of our north-south walls. We're right at 6 linear feet. So we adjusted the properties, and now I can just click on one of them, right click, add to tool chest, go to QTO14, and again it's added here, but just as a copy paste tool. So I'm going to double click on it to make it now a usable tool. So all the rest of the doors and windows, we're just going to go ahead and click through. And now we've got a workable tool. So here I'm going all the way, and we're just going to start on this. We're going to do our next ones, but now I'm going to do all of my left to right or north to south walls. What's that? One way. Down here. Did you adjust one of them? Okay, I would open your property bar down below and then select both of them and rename it. Okay, and a way to quickly kind of copy paste them too, if you select on one line, hold Control, click on that line, it allows you to copy too. So it's up to you, but once you start going, just keep drawing through all of your walls. Hit Control. This is very quick, but just kind of slow down to make sure you're kind of seeing what you're measuring as you go. I'm just going to get started on this. What's up? Through the doors, yep. And why we're going through the doors, because usually you're keeping your 16-inch spacing. So, again, we're going to have, that's a bad one. On all of our doors, usually either cripple studs on the bottom, keeping our spacing, or jack studs. So we do kind of have a stud at doors and windows. Okay, so now with these tools created, we're just going to kind of use those as our template. So with N and S selected over here, or highlighted, we're going to right-click, duplicate. With this selected, right-click, duplicate, creates the same exact tool. We're going to rename it and change the color. So this is going to be east-west walls. And I want this to be green. And from here, we're just going to keep on going. I'm going to do a few of them. You overlap. Yep, just go ahead and overlap them. This is, again, a takeoff. So if I were doing this as a framer, just FYI, I would tell my team exactly how to estimate it, and then at the very end, when I'm converting it into Excel or whatever I'm using, I may apply a factor, saying, okay, waste factor is another 10, 15%, but if I know I'm overlapping, I may drop that percentage down a little bit. Okay, holding shift, just to make sure it's a straight line. Okay, so now we kind of see we've got this running tally. So everybody just kind of pause where you're at with me right now. You'll finish this in a minute. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of create some of my different layers. So you can do this at any point in the project. I'm just going to show you how to do it really quickly. So if you select really all the walls you have drawn for east and west so far. So I'm going to click on one, hold shift, click on the last one, right click, layer, create new layer, and I'm just going to replicate the name right here. So I got east, west walls. Hit OK. I'm going to do the same thing for my northwest walls. Highlight them all, layer, create new layer, north-south walls. I may want to just turn on my layer property. So going back to columns, turning on layer. So here you can also see, and you can also turn them on and off from here too, which is kind of cool. So you can toggle them on and off. But when we keep going, I'm just going to keep going with my east-west wall right here. You'll see it's kind of annoying. The new one doesn't get added to the layer. So it's not a huge deal. That doesn't mess with our count, but maybe just at the very end, you can highlight them all again, just assign it to the layer. But even if you right click, now your layer is created. So you can just go ahead and assign it that one to get the eyeball to pop up. Okay, this is really our first step, kind of first 4 or 5 questions. Yeah, go ahead and overlap them. Yep. Okay, everybody pause where you're at. I'm just going to show you how to create a legend. So this is super handy. Yes, you got this tally going. But again, if I'm printing the sheet out for a foreman or a superintendent, I like them to see my markups too. So I'm going to hit escape just to make sure nothing's selected. And then, do I have text boxes? Oh yeah, I do. I think I do on this page. So there's a few different ways to do this. I like just being safe and really selecting everything or all of my markups. So if I go to my east-west walls, hold shift, go to my last markup, north-south walls. I'm going to right click or down here or on one of these walls and go to legend, create new legend. It's going to kind of hover. I can resize this, so I'm just going to put this on the top right of my page. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And then, just like with any markup tool, we've got properties for this legend. So with this legend selected, I'm going to click on the property icon. First up, I just want the fill to be solid white, just so it kind of covers whatever's behind it. And then I just like to put some type of outline or border to it. So I'm going to pump up this line to be like 2 point, just so I can kind of see it. I don't really care the other properties, but you can edit these. Like you can get erase the title, make it bold, a few different things you can do right here. But that's okay, but this is kind of cool. So here you can see my east-west total so far is at 80. But when I keep going with my tool chest, east-west walls, again it was at 80. Now my legend has it at 100. So once you add that tool in, it will reflect or update your tool chest. So once you add it in, it will keep track of that. And that is really the info you're going to be transferring to that first page of the homework. One more time. Border, yes, so select your legend. And then once it's selected, the properties are up here too. So I just made the point. By default, it's at 0. I made it up to 2. And that's just the line thickness. Did I do? So, which one? Right here? Yeah, no, good question, but I would just go straight through them. Yep. So I'd go straight through. Honestly, this whole wall right here, you can just do a takeoff on. Kind of our count tool I'm going to show you, and then you can really finish up your homework. I just have, just FYI, I got to start a meeting for somebody right at 10, so we're going to jam through to right at 10. We'll kind of work on this from 10 to 10:30. I'll come back and we'll finish. We'll probably be done right around 11, just FYI. But I'm going to keep going just so we can kind of get through most of this. Okay, so that is, let's see, really your first few questions. So square foot, I'm not doing the square foot of your house for you. You can figure that out. So we got north, south, east, west going. So that's going to help us with our stud count, or sorry, with our plate count, as well as our studs. So again, once we figure out the overall linear foot for this example, what are we dividing it by? 16 on the sun, or what's that in feet? 1.33, yeah. So you can show that even right below here. But again, we're using our quantities we've got to figure out our counts and our takeoff. So the other thing left to do is really just our wall intersections and our openings. So I'm going to jump to a fresh page, page 4. Yep, so click on your thumbnail, right click on that page, rotate page. Okay, so next up I got count, very similar. We're going to keep it the same. Go to tools first, find the tool, measure, count. And I just like putting in one of them for my wall intersection, just so I remember that it's 3 studs per intersection. I'm going to use triangle. 3 points, 3 sides. So I'm going to use triangle. Whatever you want, but I'm just going to down the opacity before I get going to like 60 maybe. It gives you the preview. That looks pretty good. So you can click on even a few, but we're really going to count all of our corners and every time a wall intersects another one. So I'm just going to get started, and even like right here, for example, you're going to have a bunch. You're going to have extra studs, but that's okay. So I'm going to hit escape just when I'm done-ish right here, just to show you how to save this one as well. So the only thing annoying about your count tool is if you select it, it groups them all into one. So let's just say you made a mistake and put in an extra one. You can right-click and do 2 different things. You can either do split all, and that splits it all into individual, which I wouldn't really do. It makes your table of contents big. But I would just do split count, and really it just separates that one that you messed up on, so then you can delete it. Okay, with that count tool now selected, I'm just going to go ahead and adjust the properties before I save it to my tool set. So I'm going to come over here and name this wall intersection. You could even put count, whatever you want, but it's counting for you, so you don't really need to. So with that named, you kind of highlight it down here. I'm going to right click. Why doesn't it let me? That's okay. I'm going to select it up here. Let's see. If I select it up there, okay, that's interesting. Select it up here, right click, add to tool chest, find our tool chest, and now, as we keep going, just say I want a coffee break, so I'm going to stop right there. Enter. This is exhausting. I'm going to come back, start counting again. So now it's a tool that we can use to count everything. Yep, click it up here in your project. So click on one of those triangles, right click, add, where is it? Yeah. Add a tool chest, QTO14. Okay, and just for fun, we're going to do the same thing, create a legend. Yes, it's keeping it down here. It's up to you if you want to use the last page. I'm going to do my door count just right on this one too. So I'm going to show you that next. But I'm going to click on all of my wall intersection that I just did. Let's try this actually. I'm just going to click on one of them, see what it does. So I'm going to click on one of my triangles, right click, add to tool chest, or no, sorry, legend, create new legend, throw it up on the page, and you can format it based off the previous page too. So let's just say we kind of worked on this one. You can go ahead and right click, format painter, go to the one we just did, and it creates a similar-ish properties, but you just have to resize it a little bit. It doesn't create the same. Okay, and again, you can see this thing is updating as we go. So I'm going to click on my wall intersection. I had 20. Now I've got 23. We'll keep going here. Oh, you know what? Let's do it since I gave it to you. So let's go to the last page, then you're ready to roll. So last page right here. We spent time formatting our wall intersection count tool, so I'm going to use that to start now. So I'm going to right click, duplicate, so it duplicates the properties. For our openings, we're adding 4 extra studs, 2 king studs, 2 trimmer studs. So I'm going to use the rectangle tool, and I want it to be a different color just so it stands out. So I'm going to go orange here. And this is pretty big too, so I may scale it down, let's say to 70 right here. Whoops, I forgot to rename it. My bad, my bad. And this is going to be our openings. And so our openings are really all of these windows and doors. I've seen students do this, which is good too. Like they'll put it on top of the call out, which is cool. You can do it that way too, because all these call outs are indicating what types of doors and windows you have. I'm going to hit enter just to stop right there, and same idea. I'm going to click on one of them, highlights them all, right click, legend, create new legend. Again, I'm going to post this up here, go to my previous page, copy the format, so right click, format painter, next page, just a format with the outline and really the legends. Okay, hold on, and then I'll come help you. So really, let's work on this for a minute, but I'm going to go on to the next thing just because we got to stop at 10 for 30. So that really gets you to your stud. So everything through, I'm going to give you, this is kind of tedious, so I'm going to give this one to you. I'm going to give you this header info because it's redundant. So I'm going to give you these counts for this one, and you can fill in your table. So don't worry about these door headers. I'm going to give you that because you're kind of doing that anyways. Yeah, you're going to turn in 2 different copies. I want you to fill out your answers on that sheet. You're going to turn that into tomorrow, but then I'm going to also have you upload your Bluebeam file just for practicing. You're going to fill out the table. No, just paper. Yeah. I'm just thinking worst case, have your Revit have to save. Okay, so I may that's okay. We're not even getting to Revit. We'll do that. Okay, yeah, do Control A. That's a bad, yeah, that's your shower. So there's just those kind of gray outlines that go through your. Don't do the dash. Oops.